I have a lot of stories to tell from my life, and I'm working on a bunch of really cool stuff right now, and I'm waiting on something to dry. So I thought I'd tell you stories where I've said in my life, like, something weird is going on. A lot of them are from being a nurse. I was an ICU nurse for about 10 years. I'm gonna tell you two of my mystical, weird nursing stories. I don't have proof of these stories, obviously, because I'm in a hospital. So you're just gonna have to take my word for it, but I'm not lying to you. Okay. Being a nurse was really, really hard on me and my psyche and my emotions and my experience of the world. But it also got me in touch with like the other side. I'm working in the ICU. I'm a night shift nurse, and I'm getting report on a patient. The patient is not neuro intact. They're not in there, they don't respond. And I was like, okay, and I write it down. It looked obvious that they didn't respond. And so I took her word for it. But even when a patient couldn't respond to me, I'd always talk to them because one, I was lonely, and two, I'm like, what if they could hear? Some of the rooms that we take care of patients were isolation rooms. I only had one patient, and it was just me and this person who couldn't talk pretty much all night long. Night shift gives baths, so I'm giving them a bath. That's why I'm talking to them the most, because I'm all up in their business. And I'm like, are you comfortable? And they shake their head, yes. And I was like, oh, you're in there. This is great news. And wasn't neuro intact for quite a long time. Well, now they're answering questions. Nurse works 12-hour shifts, and I would always stack mine in a row. I could have 4 days off to do whatever I wanted. So I ended up having this patient for 3 days in a row. And because I'm a sensitive girl, I end up forming a bond with this patient. So I have them for 3 nights, and then I'm off for 4. On the 4th night, I'm due to come back. So I go to sleep that night, and I end up having this dream. But I walk into the patient's room, the isolation room that they were in, and there's all these boxes and suitcases and luggage. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're up standing in the room. I was like, where are you going? And they were like, I'm going home. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how good you look, but you know what? It makes sense. Like, it's so much huge progress in 4 days. And they're like, I just wanted to give you a big hug. So I give this patient like a huge hug, and it was so lovely. And they were like, thank you so much. And I was like, of course. I get to work. I go to the board. I look at the name, and they're not there. I was like, did they move to the step-down unit? Are they on med surg now? They were like, no, that patient passed away last night. I was like, what? I literally had a dream that they were going home last night. And in reality, they kind of were. Another time, I was taking care of a patient who had really done something horrible to themselves, and they were so sick. They were on the ECMO machine that took their blood out, okay, oxygenated it, and put it back in. No one could get them off sedation. And so they weren't making any progress at all. And they were like, we really need to get them off sedation. And for some reason, every time they wake up, they're freaking the heck out. I got that patient. I was like, I'm gonna try to get them off sedation. Like, let's make some progress. Let's do this. The first night I had them, I started lowering and tapering off their sedation. They started waking up and they started freaking out. And of course, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go back on sedation. Like, every time they would freak out, it would increase their oxygen demand and it would make them really unstable. Crap, I gotta figure this out. It's the first night of 3 nights in a row, and I'll know I'll have this patient the next day. But I go home and I go to bed, and for some reason, I fell asleep with socks on, which I never do. I woke up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, and I was like, get this shit off me. I was like, have you ever done that? When you wake up and you're way too hot and you're like, take these socks off of me, take these blankets off of me. I felt like crap. I go back to the hospital the next day, and I do the same thing all over again. I try to lower the sedation. I'm trying everything. I'm giving him different medicine. Of course, the patient starts freaking out again. So I go up on the sedation and I'm just sitting there. And for some reason, I did something bad. I looked them up on social media, and I'm looking through all their posts, and I'm like, man, I can't believe this is like happening to you. And I start like connecting with them or something. Start lowering the sedation again, and they start freaking out again. But this time, something happens to me. I get so freaking hot. I start breaking a profuse sweat right at the bedside. I start feeling so sick. I'm like, oh my God, I have to sit down. I have to call another nurse over. I start going back up on the sedation. And I'm like, sorry, I don't know, something just overcame me. The other nurse comes, takes a break for me, and I go to the bathroom. And I'm in the bathroom, and I'm thinking for a second. And I'm like, you know what? This patient has boots on, gloves on, a neck brace. They have all of this stuff, and they can't regulate their own temperature because the blood in the ECMO machine is being taken out and warmed and put back in. And I noticed that they were spiking fevers. And I was like, what if they're just too hot? Like the other night when I woke up from sleep and I was too hot. And I freaked out. So I went back to the bedside and I was like, all right, guys, gather around. We're about to do something crazy. I was like, we're going to take off all of their mittens, all of their boots. We're even going to take off their neck brace. And they're like, are you crazy? The person freaks out every time you lower the sedation. I was like, I don't know. I think they're too hot. Maybe they need help trying to regulate their body temperature. I don't know. I just want to try it. They're like, okay. By the end of the night, this patient was completely off sedation, watching the football game on TV. And I was like, something weird's going on. I was like, I got hot the night before because I slept with socks on. The next day, I got profusely hot trying to lower the sedation. And that was the answer. I ended up doing a whole project on ICU patients getting too hot and waking up and like being confused. All those series of events lined up perfectly to save that person's life. In both stories, it's like I connected into these people and it caused these otherworldly experiences where I was like, something weird is going on here.
Top 10 Glitches in the Matrix. From my comments section, part 22. My daughter pulled a book out of the bookcase and my current driver's license fell out. She brought it to me asking if I had been looking for it. I pulled out my wallet, the same license was there. At about 11:20 p.m. on the 18th, and I was about to go to bed, but I decided to pet my cat once more. And when I looked back at the clock, it said it was 4 a.m. I checked my phone, and it was 4 a.m. on the 20th. My dad was visiting my house one day, and he lives about 20 minutes away. He drove back to his house in his car. 2 days later, he lost his car keys, and I found them in my driveway under my car. It had rained since his visit, and I have left multiple times. And no, he doesn't have a push-to-start car. My family and I took a long road trip to Tennessee. I wore my favorite jean jacket. I took it off in the car halfway down our trip and then we get to the hotel. I put my jacket on a chair next to the door. A couple days later, I went to wear it. It was gone. I was so upset. After a week, we went home. My jacket was on my bed. How? I wore it to Tennessee. When I was a kid, I had this little lemon strawberry shortcake themed figure. I remember purposely setting it on top of my dresser to display. I constantly looked over at it while playing too. Then poof, gone. Couldn't find it anywhere in my room. Days later, it showed back up on the dresser where I left it. Absolutely freaked me out. Once I was making some chocolate milk and I had put the cap of the milk down and put the jug down next to it, turned around to grab the chocolate syrup, turned back, the cap was gone. I looked everywhere, on the floor, on both tables, and then I turned around to face the jug again and the cap fell on my head. Still freaks me out to this day, and no one was in the kitchen with me. My mom had gotten this purple blanket for Christmas one year. It was the kind of material that would stick to your skin if it was dry. She told me one day to bring it upstairs into my closet. I did. Later that day, she told me to put it in my closet again. I told her I did. She then pointed at it saying, it's right here. I took it to my closet and went to put it away. I was gonna put it where I thought I had put the first one, but it was already there. We now have two of the same blanket and no one knows where the other one came from. Glitch or ghost? I had a childhood toy that I took everywhere with me. It slept on my bed with me at night. One morning, I woke up and it was missing. My whole family gutted my room looking for it. Nowhere to be seen. I was heartbroken. I had this toy since I was a baby. Months later, it was sitting alone on my windowsill. Randomly reappeared one day. My whole family still doesn't understand. When I was 7, the town I lived in had a crossroad. My sister was on the sidewalk and I ran into the middle of the road and an unseen force pulled me 10 feet back to the curb. While the car was mere inches from killing me, my sister went white and said, "You could even see my clothes being pulled by something." And at number 10, my ID, passport, and keys were in a bag that were stolen from an IKEA parking lot. Car was broken into. I filed a report. This was in April. Fast forward to literally 2 weeks ago, my ID and keys were in a bag I haven't used in over a year. Passport still gone. Now I have 2 IDs and 2 sets of keys. I've seen a lot of skeptics in my comment section, so please explain these to me. How does the cap of a milk carton fall on someone's head while no one else is home and they're just standing there minding their own business? How does a jean jacket get lost while on vacation just for it to end up on the person's bed when they get home? Also, the one where the person went into the road and then was pulled 10 feet back, that was 100% divine intervention. You were not allowed to die that day. There's so much to this world and universe that's just unexplainable, and I love it.
I experienced a glitch in the Matrix and I need to talk about it because it's actually insane. I'm sure you've probably heard before that we live in a matrix, we live in a simulation. Past, present, and future is all happening at the same time because time is not linear and time is not really real. I've also talked about the fact that consciousness is all one, we are all divinely connected and separation is just an illusion. Okay, now keep in mind everything that I just said when I'm about to tell the story. So, about a month ago, I started going on Threads. I started posting a little bit more frequently my thoughts and how I've been feeling, whatever. One of the thoughts that I talked about was actually happening in a week where I was extremely burnt out. I was working a lot, I was tired, and I was just like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing as a society? And basically, in the thread, I said something on the lines of, I'm not lazy, I'm not uneducated, my soul is burnt out, I'm tired of doing this. I basically said how if we all stopped doing this, we'd realize that we don't need to do this anymore and life would get a lot better for all of us. Something on the lines of that. I posted it, it went viral. I think Meta took it down because, I don't know, I guess maybe it was just saying a little bit too much truths. Who knows? I thought nothing of it and then just kept scrolling. Day to day goes by and I see someone else posting the exact same thing I said. Top to bottom, exact words, exact comments, exact grammar, whatever. Obviously, I commented and I was like, hey, I wonder where you got this from. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool, but, you know, you didn't have to steal exactly what I said. So then the person was like, what are you talking about? Like, I've never seen your content. Like, I've never seen your stuff. I never even knew you posted this. Like, I actually didn't get it from you. If anything, I got it from someone else who was on Facebook. And I was like, okay, well, then that person on Facebook probably copied me because I'm telling you guys, and I would not lie, I wrote this in my own thoughts, in my own car, because I was like, I'm frustrated. This guy said, no, I'm telling you, I got it from this person. They posted it a long time ago in like 2024. I'll show you. He ends up getting a screenshot and showing me what the person said, and it was almost exactly to a T what I said. Like, where the sentences were, almost everything was perfect, and I'll show you guys. I'm gonna just let you guys read this here. First, the top one was the one I wrote, the bottom one was the Facebook one, and it was almost exactly to the T, but that person wrote it in 2024, and I have never seen this in my life. I only use Facebook for, like, marketplace, and I thought this person maybe made an AI thing, so I deadass searched this person, I searched this girl, and I looked at it, and I'm like, no way, she actually wrote this, and she actually wrote it. Time is not linear. We are all collapsing and we are all one. The same idea you have, someone on the other side of the world probably had that idea already. It's actually insane. We are all one divine consciousness. You cannot tell me that this shit's real. You can't tell me. Have you guys had this experience? Cause, bro, this is like a crazy glitch in the Matrix for me.
I went on a trip to California that still freaks me out to this day, so I'm gonna tell you all about it. It was August of 2023. My friend and I were going to Disneyland to celebrate my birthday. We flew into California on the 21st, and we were supposed to fly home the 26th. The first night that we were there, it was a normal night. We checked into our hotel, we went to dinner, and then we just went to bed because we had an early day at Disney, and the next day is when stuff started to get really weird. We started our first day off in Disneyland, and we planned to go Disneyland California Adventure for the 4 days that we were there, and we also had park hoppers, but at the time you could only park hop starting at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I believe. When we got to Disneyland on our first day, I remember that one of the first things we wanted to do was get an energy drink drink after we had eaten breakfast because we knew we were going to need it to keep our stamina up throughout the day. I was complaining to my friend that they never had any of the Monster flavors that I liked, that I loved the sugar-free watermelon Monsters. They always just had the Ultra Zero Monster or the original black and green Monster, and we kept looking around to see if there was any other options, but sure enough, everywhere we went, those were the two options that they had. So we ended up just buying one of those and moving on with our day. As we continued throughout our first day, we kept seeing twins everywhere. We were kind of laughing it off because it wasn't really that big of a deal, but it was kind of odd because we kept seeing twins that were not only identical twins in the way that they looked, but they also were dressed identical. And it wasn't just the kids, it was the adults also, which was kind of odd. Later that night when we were heading back to our hotel, we wanted to stop at CVS and get some snacks and some travel size toothpaste because we were worried that we were going to run out of the little toothpaste that we did still have left. So we went to CVS and we actually asked a worker if they had a travel section because we could not find a travel section full of mini toiletries anywhere, and the employee that we asked said no, we only have full-sized items, and he showed us where we could go and get toothpaste from, and then we headed back to our hotel for the night. The next day we started our day at California Adventure and we still kept seeing twins everywhere, and that's when we were starting to get a little freaked out because not only had we seen so many sets of twins the day before, but we were still continuing to see them, and it could have just been one of those things where because we noticed them so much the day before, we were still noticing them, but it definitely stuck out to us more on the second day. And later in the afternoon when we were able to park hop over to Disneyland, we went to Disneyland and we were kind of dragging, so we decided we wanted to get more energy drinks, and the first spot that we went to get an energy drink from had watermelon zero sugar Monsters. All of a sudden they had them right after I was complaining that they didn't have them, but I still was just kind of trying to brush it off because I didn't think that it was for me, but it just felt really odd. And as we continued walking, every single area that sold a sugar-free Monster, the flavor that they had was watermelon. Everywhere. That was one of the first really weird things that I still will never forget to this day. But then when we were walking back to our hotel that night, we decided to stop at CVS again because we wanted to get more snacks and we wanted to get some water. So we go to CVS and we pick out some snacks, we grab our water, and we go to check out. And as we are walking towards the checkout, there is an entire section full of mini travel toiletries. An entire section. And that I still can't explain it to this day, and it sounds so unbelievable. And we even actually checked our bank accounts to make sure it was CVS that we went to the night before, because there's also a Walgreens across the street, and sure enough, it was CVS. We were at CVS and we had been at CVS the night before, and all of a sudden there was a travel section. The next day was my birthday, and it just didn't really feel like my birthday. The whole vibe just kind of fell off, and the whole day just felt really weird, but nothing super significant happened. My friend did have a ring that she lost the stone in, and I was wearing some earrings and I lost the stone in one of my earrings, which was kind of odd. And we were still seeing twins because that didn't stop our whole entire trip. But other than that, the weird vibe just stuck. The next day we started in California Adventure, so we get to the park and we go to California Adventure to scan in for the day. And when we go to scan in, they tell us that we actually start our day in Disneyland, which we were so confused about because we had double, triple, quadruple checked, and the whole entire time leading up to the trip and while we were on the trip, we knew that our plan was to go Disney, California, so it made no sense to us that on our last day that was supposed to be California Adventure, they were telling us we were supposed to start in Disneyland. So that just kind of threw off the whole day because we were just really confused. Those had not been the plans that we had been looking at over and over and over again. Later that night, as we were walking back to our hotel on our final night in California, I got a notification from our airline that our flight that was supposed to leave Saturday the 26th at 1 p.m. had actually been pushed to later that night, Saturday evening, which was kind of annoying, but it was fine because then we just had more time in California the next day. So we go back to our hotel and we end up just going to bed. And then when we wake up in the morning to pack all of our stuff to get ready to go, I go in the bathroom. I had packed all my clothes and I just had my toiletries. And as I was going to pack my toiletries, I had packed up everything, and then I saw one of my lip glosses on the counter, and I was kind of confused because I didn't think I'd I'd brought that lip gloss. I hadn't used it the whole trip, and it's a lip gloss that I own that really tastes horrible, and I don't even know why I still had it at that point, but I just threw it in my toiletry bag. And then I went in the bedroom again to see if my friend was done packing, and she had told me, yes, I'm done, but you forgot your lip gloss. And I looked at her and I was kind of confused because I was like, well, I just packed a lip gloss, but maybe it's another one. And then she picks it up and hands it to me, and it was the same exact lip gloss that I had just packed, but it was brand new. It had never been opened. So I told her, this isn't my lip gloss. I have that lip gloss, but I just packed it. And so I went to grab it out of my toiletry bag to show her that I had already packed it. And all of a sudden there was 2 lip glosses in my toiletry bag. The one that was opened, and then there was another one that was not open that was also brand new in the package. So there was 2 in my toiletry bag. She's holding one. All of a sudden there's 3 of this lip gloss that I absolutely can't even stand. 2 brand new in packages, and 1, my old one that I've clearly used. And that still just freaks me out. It still freaks me out. It makes no sense. And I still have all 3 lip glosses somewhere. After the lip gloss debacle, I ended up getting another notification from the airline that our flight now was not leaving that night, but it was actually delayed until the next morning at that point. So I was super annoyed because we had to get another night in a hotel. We ended up switching hotels, and when we got to the new hotel, I remembered that I had a friend who was actually supposed to be flying into the same airport on the same airline and the same airplane that was supposed to be the airplane we were taking back to Utah. So I texted her and I said, hey, are you having issues with your flight also? And then she texts me back right away and said, I'm going to call you. It has been an absolute shit show. She calls me and tells me that Friday night they had been getting texts about their flight being moved up on Saturday morning, so they ended up going to the airport early Saturday morning to see what the heck was going on. And when they got there, they're told, yes, your flight has been moved up. So eventually they board the plane on the earlier flight, and they ended up unboarding everyone just minutes later because the flight had less than half the passengers on it. And then 2 hours later they boarded them again, and then they took off with still less than half the passengers because the flight was leaving early, which does not happen. This whole situation was so confusing to us at the time, and it's probably confusing to you as you are listening, and it still to this day does not really make sense to me, and I can't wrap my head around what exactly even happened. But my friend and her husband landed in California, and she actually talked to the pilot because she was still leaving the plane, and the pilot says, yes, this plane is going back to Utah in 20 minutes, and it probably is the flight your friend is supposed to be on because it's the only flight leaving this weekend, and then we don't have any other flights until next week. So the plane takes off. We're not on it. Lots of people also weren't on it because not only did it leave early, but everyone's apps are still showing them that it's delayed until Sunday. So called Orange County Airport to see if they knew anything that was going on because I couldn't get a hold of the airline, and they told me that they also could not get a hold of the airline. And not only that, but there was no airline employees at the airline's desk, and air traffic control was not seeing any of their planes in the sky. What the hell? Later that night, I checked the airline app again, and sure enough, it shows us as checked in, and then the flight completely disappeared off of the app not too long after that because according to the airline, we were on that flight safe and sound back in Utah, even though we are still in California. So the next day, we ended up renting a car and driving home because flights were way too expensive. And that's pretty much the whole entire story. I'm no longer friends with the girl that I went on that trip with, and I kind of, looking back on it, think that maybe that was the universe's way of telling me that weird things happen when I'm with this chick and I probably shouldn't keep hanging out with her.
I got a glitch in the Matrix story time from a girl named Jade who told me about a conversation that she had on a bus that was very strange and still leaves her unsettled. So she was on a bus going back from her parents' house. She was there for the weekend. She always took the bus because she didn't have a car. She said she had done that bus ride 1,000,000 times. It was about 2 hours away from where she lived. Regarding the background noise, my baby's over there tearing stuff up. Her bus left later in the evening, so it was already dark outside. There were only a few other passengers on the bus. She finds a window seat, plugs in her headphones, and kind of like conks out. She said she wasn't asleep, but it was like in and out of consciousness type thing, and she felt somebody sit next to her in the seat, like a weight had been put down next to her. So she opens her eyes and she sees a man sat down next to her. He says something. She takes her headphone out. She's like, what? He's like, do you mind if I sit here? She said she was 22 when this happened. He was significantly older, probably in his 50s. He had like silver gray hair, and he had a very distinct jawline. She said she would describe him as an attractive older man, but he was very like angular. So she's like, yeah, sure, sit down. And he's like, thanks. She puts her headphone back in. She's like kind of closing her eyes. She feels him tap her. So she opens her eyes again. She looks at him and he's like moving his mouth, but she can't hear what he's saying. So she takes her headphone out again. He's like, do you ever feel like things are perfect? Like things aren't real? She's like, what? He's like, do you ever feel like things happen that shouldn't be possible, but nobody else notices? And she's like, what do you mean? And he turns fully to look at her and he's like glitches. She doesn't know what he's going on about. She thinks he's like on something. So she said, like, although she was like a little bit creeped out, she didn't want to be rude, but she just is like, yeah, sure, I guess. And like turns back to like put her headphone in. She doesn't even close her eyes and he's talking again. So she takes her headphone back out and he's like, yeah, I had a feeling you'd understand. She said he was very calm in the way that he spoke to her. And he's like, you see things that other people don't. You see the world flicker. You see the gaps. So she's just like, I guess this is what we're doing now. Doesn't even try to like listen to music again. She's like, I don't really know what you mean. He's like, yeah, you do. So she turns to fully look at him for the first time. She says she looked him in the eyes, but for some reason, even though she knows she like clocked him, like she looked at him fully, but it was like her brain was struggling to process the details of his face, if that makes sense. Like they were almost fluid. They were changing in front of her. She said at the time, she just attributed this to like when you look at somebody in a dark car, like it's going underneath streetlights. So there's light flickering on and off. And like she just thought that that was what was going on and why she couldn't really process his face. So she's like, I'm not really following your conversation, to be honest with you. Like, what's your name? And he goes, I don't have a name that matters anymore. She's like, well, you said that I know what you mean. And to be honest with you, I don't. So he's like, well, I don't know that you know what I mean, but they do. And she's like, who is they? And he's like, the veilkeepers. She's like, what? And he's like, yeah, like they're the ones that keep the illusion, that make sure that nobody notices when things shift. He's like, they're the ones that make sure that nobody knows when time rewinds or when people disappear and then they're rewritten. Then he tells her something along the lines of the world that she sees is not real. It's just a projection. It's a layer. Jade said she didn't know what to say at this point. She was fully creeped out. So she just says, well, that's insane. And he says, is it? He says, did you ever have a memory that nobody else remembers or have a moment in time that feels like it's stretching too long, like something is buffering? And this is all paraphrasing, but she said she distinctly remembers him saying something about time buffering. But it was this comment that made her throat go dry because she did have an experience like that. She remembered a store close to where she grew up. It was a supermarket that she remembered going to a lot as a kid with her mom. And that store apparently never existed. When she asked her mom where it went or what happened or why they closed down, her mom was like, there was never a store there. And she's like, yes, there was. I remember going to it. But her mom just told her basically that it was just like a childhood memory. She must be remembering another store. So this is what Jade thought of when this man is talking. Jade also had a feeling at this point that the time it took for him to say these words to her seemed to be like stretching. Like it didn't seem like normal conversation. It was like time slowed down. She also had this weird sense of deja vu, but she thought this was just her brain playing tricks on her due to the nature of the conversation. And then the man starts nodding as if he could read her thoughts. And he's like, yeah, the veilkeeper, they maintain the script. They don't want you to notice. Jade said she just asked him, what does it matter if I do notice? At this point, the bus hits like a bump in the road or something and they both jolt. The man looks around nervously and he says, because if you notice, they start watching you. Jade says nothing. She's just trying to process what is going on when all of a sudden the bus's lights flicker. When the bus's lights come back on, he's not there anymore. She said there was a ringing in her ears like static and it was like her vision blurred for a second. She said at this point, she swears she saw dark shadow-like figures standing all around the bus. Their limbs were wrong, stretched like shadows in the flickering light, and featureless faces that seemed to study her. The bus lurches again, her eyes come back to normal, and the ringing in her ears stops, and she can't see anything out of the ordinary. She looks around at the other passengers. Everyone's just going about their business, reading books, listening to music, asleep, nothing out of the ordinary. She grabs her phone, turns the front-facing camera on, and looks behind her, and she doesn't see anything out of the ordinary back there either. Her heart is racing. She's like, I must have just imagined all that. I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe I'm tired. When she comes up to her stop, she goes to the bus driver and she says, does this bus have security footage? And he says, yeah, but if you want it, you're going to have to contact corporate. He points to a number that's listed. He goes, call them. So she does the next day. There's a little bit of back and forth over the next week with this company, but eventually they do send her the footage because she lied to them and said that something was stolen from her on the bus. And she sees herself talking to no one next to her. But her blood ran cold because on the footage, after the bus lurch, when it hit a bump, you see her move forward and then the video seems to glitch. For a split second, there seems to be a figure sitting beside her, but it's not human and it's a distorted shape and then it's gone. She said she emailed the company back asking if they have any more footage because there's clearly a glitch in this footage and they say it just must be a bug. We don't have anything else. She did send me the bus security footage and you do see something for a split second, but I don't think it's human either. It just looks like a shadow, so can't confirm nor deny. However, she didn't want it shared. You can clearly see her in the video and she did want to be anonymous, so her name has been changed. She said she just doesn't want people to think that she's crazy or like she has a mental illness. So let her know if you have any idea of what this was, if anybody's had a similar experience. She said she's gone down a lot of rabbit holes. She can't find anything about the veilkeeper. So if anyone has any insight as to what this man was talking about, or maybe he really was just on something. But then that still doesn't explain why he's not actually on the footage. So let me know your thoughts and keep sending me your spooky, scary stories. I love the glitch in the matrix ones.
I got an email from somebody who said that she fell asleep for 12 hours and lived a separate life for 7 years, that she now grieves every single day, and she knows that it was real because she brought things back from that life into this life. The person who sent me the story's name is Stacy, and she said that I could use her real name. She said that it was just like any other day. She was absolutely exhausted and drained, and she wanted to take a nap. So she took a nap around 3 p.m. and she set her alarm for 4:30 p.m. But when she woke up after that alarm went off, she was not in her room. She was in some cozy little kitchen. She said pancakes were sizzling on the stove, Fleetwood Mac was playing, and then she turned around and she saw some dark-skinned man walk up to her, smile, and say, "You always space out in the morning, baby." And then he kissed her on the forehead. He then said, "Do you want strawberries or syrup on your pancakes?" And she wanted to scream. She had no idea who this man was, but she said that her mouth just smiled. And she heard her own mouth say, "Syrup and strawberries for me, please, but no strawberries for the kids, just syrup. They don't like strawberries." Stacy has 2 kids in real life, but she's thinking to herself, like, what world am I in right now? And do I have those same 2 kids in this world? And then all of a sudden 3 children run into the room. There's 2 boys and 1 girl, and they came running into the kitchen and they wrapped their arms around her legs, and like they always did, and she knew this somehow. Her brain filled in the blanks like flipping through a photo album that she had never seen but remembered. Her oldest name was Octavia, and if you know Stacy, her favorite show is The 100, so Octavia is short for Ava. This girl was 10 years old, she had freckles and missing teeth. The second oldest was Miles. He was 7 and he had a Batman cape on. She said the youngest one's name was Devin, and he wore 2 different socks all the time, and it was almost like he did this on purpose. He would come and show his mom, and she would tell him to go put the right socks on, and when she would put the right socks on him, he would go and grab another sock that was mismatched, and he would put it on top of the other sock so it would be mismatching again, and then he would laugh at her when she would get upset about it. She said her hands poured juice, cut pancakes, and packed lunches, and everything just felt natural to her. She said that her head didn't know what to do, but that her hands knew what to do, and she knew everybody. She knew her friends, her family, her husband. She also said that she looked completely different. She was a mixed woman wherever she was, and she is a mixed woman in real life, but that she just looked different. She was very thin with braids, a septum piercing, and a bunch of tattoos. She said days passed, but they weren't days. They felt real. Time went on. She celebrated birthdays. She got sick. She fought with her husband. Cried in the laundry room. She made love. She yelled, laughed. She went to work. She held her kids as they fell asleep. She was an art teacher. She had 23 kids in her class, and it was room 106. She remembers it specifically. She remembers Miles breaking his arm, the youngest starting kindergarten. She remembers Ava coming home crying because somebody made fun of her freckles. She remembers Devin learning how to ride a bike, and when he finally did it, he yelled, "Yay, Daddy, look, I did it. I can ride a bike." But after 7 years of living this perfect life, she started to notice glitches. Like she would go to the grocery store, and the grocery store would be playing the same song over and over and over again on repeat. The mailman's name was Tom. It was always Tom, but after the 5th year, every time she saw him, his face would change. There was also a door in the basement that they never used, and when she asked her husband about it, he was like, "That's storage," but they had no key for it, nothing. They couldn't open it. She said that after this happened and she asked her husband that, her husband was like, "Are you okay, baby? You've been asking really weird questions lately," and for some reason, she just ignored him, and she walked into the room, and as she sat on her bed, she looked at her closet door, and the door started whispering to her. And with that same door, she had been hearing muffled crying behind that door recently, and that night, as she stared at that door, she heard somebody whisper, "You don't belong here. They're going to find you. You're going to get in trouble. Wake up. I know you're sick, but you have to wake up." Well, the whole basement door thing had her going crazy, so at some point, she started looking everywhere for a key so that she could open this damn basement door, and finally, she found a key, and one night, she went alone down there when it was dark with a flashlight. Her kids were asleep. She remembers that. She remembers that her husband was upstairs grading papers, and she remembered that the door didn't have a knob. It only had a keyhole. And as she was putting the key in the hole, her hands were shaking. And as she's doing this, she whispered, "What's behind there?" And she heard her voice, her real voice that she had remembered from the other world, whisper back to her, "You're sick. You're falling deeper into this. You're dreaming. It's been 12 hours. Wake up before you aren't here anymore." And as soon as she heard this, she fell to her knees because all of her real memories came flooding back in. She had forgotten who she was prior, and in this moment she remembered everything. She remembered her real name, she remembered her real kids, her real family, her real friends. She knew in that moment that this was not hers. All she felt was heartbreak because she knew that she had a choice. She could open that door and go back to her life, or she could stay in this one where she was loved, where she had everything. She knew in that moment that she could not stay there because she remembered her real kids and she could not leave them behind, and she could not stay in a place where she knew was a lie. She said when she opened the door, there was this sound. It was like wind screaming all at once. It was almost like she was being pulled backward through water. She had been asleep for almost 12 hours. No missed calls, no missed time, nothing unusual, but she remembered everything of 7 years, every detail. She still had paint on her hands from being a teacher. She had 2 different socks on, and she had a paper cut. The same exact place that Ava had given her one when they were crafting in her kitchen, and she also had a bracelet still on her wrist that Devin had given her. But she didn't understand, how was this real? How were both lives real? How was she real in that life, and how is she real in this life? She does want to know what you guys think about this because this is one of the most traumatizing things that has ever happened to her, and she's actually had to go through therapy because of this, and she knows that it was real because she had the bracelet and the paper cut, and she had the paint on her hands, and she doesn't understand how both things can be real. What do you guys think? The story reminds me a lot of the lamp story. Have you guys ever read that story before? It sounds very, very similar, and that this is actually crazy that this has happened to more than one person. I would be extremely interested to know if this has happened to anybody else, or if anybody else has gone through anything remotely similar. And if you have, please email me because I would love to share your story, and I would love to hear if this has happened to somebody else. Obviously, it has happened to the person who with the lamp story, but I want to know, has it happened to anybody who hasn't said anything? I know that you sought out therapy after this, but the question that I would have is, did you go see a doctor? Did you explain this to a doctor in any way? Or did you go see a spiritual healer and ask maybe what this could have been? Go see a professional and ask like a professional that deals with the paranormal, and just ask them, how could this have possibly happened? Because I do believe in 2 different planes existing, but you falling asleep and slipping into another one is crazy. It reminds me of quantum theory, which I'm going to talk about soon in one of my videos because I did a lot of research on it, and it's actually pretty insane, and it does kind of make this seem possible. Like, I 100% believe you. And my last question would be, when did you forget about the old life when you were in the new one? And like, how did that happen? Do you remember? But drop all your comments, suggestions, and thoughts in the comment section, but please as always be respectful. Thank you so much. Now we're gonna do my favorite part, which is the shout outs. Ms. TT913, you left the sweetest comment ever. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate what you said. That meant the whole entire world to me. And thank you for commenting on my storytelling style. I appreciate that more than you know. I appreciate your support, commenting, pushing out my videos, being a part of my little community, and being kind most of all. Thank you so much. I love you. Chameleon6 is my next shout out. You are so sweet. You said that you run to my page to see if I posted a video the first chance that you can get, and I love that type of support more than you know. Thank you so much for being such a great supporter. Thank you for commenting and pushing my videos out. Thank you for telling me that. Thank you for being a part of my little community. You have no idea how much it means to me and how much you mean to me. Thank you so much. I love you, girl. I am about to talk about the sweater that I'm wearing. You do not have to stay for it. That's why I put it at the end. You cannot even tell me I love this sweater so much. First of all, I love the cutout right here. It's not too low to where it's like showing your girls. It's like just the perfect, like, I guess, lowness, I guess you could say. It's not a turtleneck, but it does come up high to your neck. It's very warm. The material is like, it's not too thick, but it's like, I would say medium as far as thickness goes. It is gonna be warm for like warm weather though. You would wanna wear this like during the winter time. I love it so much. I think it's so adorable, and I will link it for you below. And with that being said, my name is Kaisa, and I tell true scary stories on here every single night that you guys submit to me. So if you're into that, hit that follow button, and I just need you to do 3 things for me. And what are those? Keep sending me your scary stories. Have a safe night. And what's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you guys so much. See you in the next one. Spooky kisses and haunted hugs.
I think the Matrix is trying to rage bait me. Like, the Matrix just glitched in real time for me. And I feel like it's trying to rage bait me because I don't know if I'm going fucking crazy or not. But what I do know is that I most likely am fucking not. And that is where the rage bait is coming from. Okay? I just got my kids from daycare, okay? And I'm sitting at this stop sign. I look to my left to see 3 cars coming. I don't move. I look to my right. There's more cars coming. I look back to my fucking left, and a random ass man is just standing there like this, literally like this, on the plaza sign. Sir? Where the fuck did you come from? I did not see somebody standing there the first time I looked to the left. And then I said it out loud. I'm like, hold on a second. Where the fuck did this guy come from? I did not see anybody standing there. Like, hello? And I feel like the more I point it out, the more this happens to me, and it's trying to make me believe that I'm crazy, but I know I'm not. I'm not. I looked to the left, saw 3 cars coming, did not see a fucking person. Looked to my right, looked back to my left, and a random man is just fucking standing in the rain. It's raining. It's raining. Does this happen to anybody else? Like, I don't think I'm fucking going crazy. That was crazy though. Like, get me off this fucking rock.
Guys, I'm kind of freaking out right now because I've tried to film this. This is my 4th time filming this video. I tried to film it on TikTok 3 times, and now I'm in my camera filming it because every single time that I film it, it just closes. Not the app, but like I'll press check and then it'll just delete the whole video. Or it'll only get to the point when I start explaining my story, and then as soon as I start explaining it, then it like just deletes the recording. So you know the Mandela effect thing, okay? So the girl that had the fucking antique, and then she moved, and then she found another one, and she only bought one, but they had the exact same markings, and she was like, how the hell did I get 2 of these? There were only 1. So I'm going to get in bed. I see on my bed my AirPods. I see them there, and I'm like, I'm coming for you later. Okay? Put the kiddo to sleep. She is out. She's out. I'm like, it's mommy's time to waste away her sleep schedule on TikTok. I get my AirPods, pop them open, put the right one in, okay? Right one's in. Right one's not connecting. So I'm like, I'm irresponsible, I didn't charge them. That's on me. Let me put the left one in. It's probably charged. Put the left one in, go to put the right one back in. There is a right AirPod in the right slot, but I have one in my hand, and I know I failed math, but I only have 2 of these, okay? So why do I have 3 of these? So I start freaking out. I'm like, it's fucking happening. It's happening to me right now. So I freak out. So I get up. I turn my flashlight on. I'm poor. I found these, okay? I found them. I could not return them could not return them to the owner. Found them. I can't afford 2. I didn't have another one laying around. So I'm like, I know they're your friends, okay? I don't have a whole lot of friends, but I've only had 2 friends over to my house in the past month. So I call them. I'm like, hey girl, are these yours? She's like, no. Hey, just tell me that they're yours so I know I'm not going crazy, please. Sorry, boo, they're not mine. So then I'm like, well, let me see whose they are. Because, you know, you open them, they have a name. I named mine Steve, because I name all my shit Steve. These are named Steve.
I want to hear all of your glitch in the matrix, unexplainable, weird stories because they are fascinating to me. And we can make this a series. This can be episode 1 because I have plenty of them. This one's my mom's. She was driving from Atlanta to North Carolina. It's the middle of the night. She's on the phone with my grandma, and my grandma is helping her over maps, Google Maps, because my mom was running out of gas and she was panicking a little bit because she was in the middle of fucking nowhere, okay? Finally, over the hill, she sees a lit up, beautiful gas station. So she pulls in, she pumps her gas, uses her card, and then she goes to walk in to pee before she leaves. So she's walking towards the door, and as she gets to the door, her mom called her and goes, you ran out of gas, didn't you? And my mom's like, no, I'm at a gas station. Is my car, do you not see it? She said, no, your car's like parked in the middle of nowhere. Where are you? And she said, I'm at a gas station. And as she's saying that, she goes to pull the door and it's locked. And she looks up and there's a close sign. And she was like, oh, I just got gas. That's weird. She turns around. Everything's dark. No lights on, no people, no cars, bars on the windows, boarded up windows. a completely abandoned gas station. Ugh, it makes me want to throw up thinking about it. So of course, like any normal human, my mom's like, I've lost my mind, or I've fallen into a different dimension. She speeds off, gets on the interstate, completely weirded out, looks at her gas tank. Her gas is full. She got gas at this non-existent gas station. It's not on her credit card history, nothing. They go back, look on maps, there's no gas station there. Never figured it out. It's been years.
Guys, I found a video that maybe proves that time travel is real, or at least that people that know the future walk among us. Watch this. So this happened in Turkey, and the guy that was moving things in front of that supermarket, his name was Serdar Banici. I'm probably butchering that, but this happened over 6 years ago, and he said that the person who tapped him just said, "Look behind you." After the truck passed, that thing that swung out ended up hitting a house. So he spins around to thank the person who tapped him, and that person was just gone. He gave interviews about this. The crazy thing is that this happened in Turkey, and people in Turkey speculate that the man who touched his back was Hizir, who is a Turkish legend that apparently travels time and saves lives, also known as the Green Man. I found this video because I was searching for the Green Man. I got a spooky scary story time about somebody who said that he encountered what he thinks is a time traveler, and I'm going to post that story right after this. But I wanted to put this here for reference so that I can reference, like, go watch this video when I tell that story next. I don't know whether it was him or not, still pretty incredible, because if you watch the video again, you can see that the man did not turn around to see that that thing is going to swing out. Like, he just knew somehow inherently.
I heard this glitch story a few years ago and I can't get it out of my head. So now I'm going to share it with you. Creepy story time. So this woman starts her story off by saying her husband is an electrical engineer and she is a teacher, and she wanted to make sure everyone knows they are not crazy people. She said back when her and her husband were first dating, he was in a terrible car crash. His truck slid on black ice, went into oncoming traffic, and it was completely totaled. The other truck that he hit was also totaled, but the weird thing was that he and the other guy he hit were completely fine. There was not a scratch on them. The first responders, the tow truck companies, and even insurance all could not believe that not only had nobody passed away, but no one was even severely injured or injured at all. So fast forward a couple of days, and she and her boyfriend were hanging out on the couch, and he casually asked her when she got that flat screen TV on her dresser. She's completely baffled because she's had that flat screen TV since she's 13 years old, and they've been together for a little over a year, and it's been there the entire time. So he's like, quit joking with me. When did you get that flat screen, and what did you do with the old tube TV that used to be sitting there? She is insisting that she has always had the flat screen. What are you talking about? There is no tube TV. And they were arguing, and it got to the point where she pulled up Facebook and showed him a photograph that they took together, and that flat screen TV was indeed in the background of the photo. She says his expression drops, his face is white as a ghost, and his eyes start watering. And she's like, are you okay? What is wrong? He said, I am not crazy. I swear to God that you had a tube TV, and that was a tube TV when we took the photo. She just kind of let it go then, brushing it off as, you know, maybe he's a little rattled from the accident yet, but she said every time they had been hanging out in that room since, he'd always like side eye and look at the TV really weird. Fast forward 7 years now, and it had been a few years since they were married. They decided it's finally time that they want to be parents. She said they weren't actively trying, but they were going to let it be whatever happens, happens. So they're on vacation now in Italy, and they're wandering around Rome, and she said she started to feel like complete shit. She had also had her period the week before, and it was one of the worst ones she ever had. But she just keeps getting sicker and sicker. It's like her period came back full force. She's throwing up, all of the things. She's pretty confused and weirded out since she just had her period the week before, and it got to the point where she was so sick that the next thing she knows, they're going to emergency and she is on a stretcher. She's being wheeled into surgery because the doctor explained she had a ruptured ectopic pregnancy. She did pull through though, and after a week of recovery, she was all cleared to fly home. So fast forward another 2 months, and they are hanging out, and the topic of fires come up, and he brings up how scary that would be, what happens if they'd have a kitchen fire. And she chimes in and says, well, don't worry. Remember, we've got that fire extinguisher in the closet. Now he's looking at her like she has 3 heads. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she repeats herself that, yeah, don't you remember? We got that fire extinguisher that we put in the coat closet. She said they've had it for 3 years. And he was the one who insisted that they buy one when they got the house. But he's shaking his head no. He has no idea what she's talking about. They absolutely do not have a fire extinguisher. She brings up, don't you remember when we not only fought about whether we needed it or not, we bought it at Home Depot, argued about where to even put it in the house. All of that happened. He is adamant, nope, absolutely none of that happened. So she's pissed. She gets up, cursing him under her breath, walks over to the closet to prove her point, opens up the door, and there is no fire extinguisher. Not only is there no fire extinguisher, there are no holes where it would have been. There is no fresh paint painted over. And now she feels like she's losing it. She's furious and she's like, why would you move it and cover it up and paint over it as just like some elaborate prank? And he's fighting her back saying, none of that happened. As the fight came to a head, he was kind of like, now you know how I feel about the tube TV. So then they didn't speak about it for a long time. And one of them came upon one of these threads on the internet talking about glitches in reality or jumping timeline. They are convinced that they both actually were unalived and kind of had a reset into this new reality, and the TV and the fire extinguisher were just little mistakes, little glitches. She said she's never been more rattled in her entire life, and anytime she has to go into that closet, she just gets this overwhelming sense of something's just not right. And he says he will go to his grave claiming that that used to be a tube TV. Such an awesome story. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And also, has anything like that ever happened to you where certain things are just a little bit different? And don't forget to follow for more creepy story time.